In the news tonight, a motorist is Barbados' latest road fatality. The oil spill cleanup in Oistins nearing completion. And in sports, the West Indies men lose the T20 series against hosts England.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom. Thank you for tuning in. We begin with this story. The island has recorded another road fatality, bringing to 7 the total for the year so far. Today's accident occurred in Pollardland, St. Philip, when an SUV and a Transport Board bus collided about 11:07 this morning. Several people were also injured. Police, Communications and Public Affairs Officer Inspector Ryan Brathwaite is appealing to anyone who witnessed the accident to contact the District C Police Station at 416-8200 or 416-8201.
Our initial investigations have shown that the two vehicles were traveling in opposite directions when the collision occurred. As a result of this collision, the driver of the motor car succumbed to injuries at the scene. 2 persons on board the motor omnibus complained of injuries, those being the driver and a passenger.
Well, police have just released the name of the deceased. According to lawmen, he has been identified by a relative as Kevon Ford of Lot 2, Content Court in St. Philip. The Oistins oil spill is on its last legs of being fixed after the efforts of workers from the Barbados National Energy Company Limited. While the crude oil was removed from the streets, the efforts today were focused on removing the oil from the storm drains. Minister of Energy and Business Development, Senator Lisa Cummins, provided an update at the site.
The residual oil that is being flushed out once everything has been cleared underneath. So we're literally walking on the sidewalk, but underneath us runs the drainage infrastructure. So that entire infrastructure is being cleaned out. You see the drainage teams that are on the ground now, underground literally right now. This is going to be flushed into what you will see in the marine outfall. And so when you see that filled with liquid, oily residue from the drainage and sand and so on, what you're seeing is that flushing that Nigel referred to, finding its way there, being cleaned out, and then that's going to be sucked out, and that the entire drainage system, then the sand that you're seeing on the road by Granny's, we expect that by the end of today, we have the teams that are going to be there with the street sweepers. We have the waters that's going to come in, usually salt water being used to clean down the road by Granny's, and hopefully by the end of this evening, we're going to be able to reopen the road by Granny's while the teams continue to do the drainage work underground.
Minister Cummins also said a spill-off benefit of the cleanup is that the Oistins drainage system is getting a proper flushing at the start of the Atlantic hurricane season.
Hopefully by tomorrow we should have turned a significant corner with the cleanup, and more normalcy, a greater sense of normalcy should have returned to the Oistins area. But one advantage we're hoping that we will see is that the drainage infrastructure in this entire area gets a complete flushing, a complete cleaning out, especially given that we are in hurricane season. So that's one silver lining to the entire process.
And Barbadians are being urged to take the necessary precautions against the moderate plume of Sahara dust currently affecting the island. The call from meteorologist Tia Brown, who says the dust will continue into tonight. She says some reduction in concentration is expected from tomorrow, but slight haze will still be present into the middle of this week.
We continue to urge persons to follow any advice from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. Any persons with respiratory issues or allergies should have their prescribed medications readily available. The highest concentrations are expected to be today and tonight, so these may cause some reduced visibility, specifically for small craft operators, of which we have a small craft advisory in effect. And as always, continue to monitor the BMS for any further updates.
Just last week, Chief Medical Officer Dr. the Most Honorable Kenneth George said the Sahara dust creates an allergic type phenomena.
We have always maintained that persons who have allergies, including asthma, make sure they have the inhalers and make sure that they try where possible to remain indoors.
For this entire month, fisherfolk will be congregating at landing sites across the island to celebrate those in the industry and their customers. Yesterday, St. Peter had its turn when those in that parish gathered for a celebration in 6 men's. Let's hear from Rachel Agard.
Anchors were down and nets cast aside as fisherfolk instead gathered for a celebration at the Six Men St. Peter landing site. Villagers and supporters got together on the shoreline while children frolicked in the water. People from as far as Christchurch came out to support the community event, which is important in building camaraderie and promoting unity among the fisherfolk. Chief Fisheries Officer Dr. Shelley-Ann Cox says this is a demonstration of their resilience after the events of last year's Hurricane Beryl.
Six Men's itself was very impacted by the storm surge of Beryl, and we're hoping that within the year or so that the project will support these coastal protection measures that we can have back the nice beach at Six Men's again.
Dr. Cox also shares her vision for the industry while expressing pleasure that younger people are getting involved in the sector.
We have been promoting youth engagement, especially the need to see more women going out fishing, more women being captains of longline boats, and this is something we see for the vision of the industry. My vision for the industry in 5-10 years are to have more than 20 women captains. I myself enjoy fishing. I can handle a boat, and some people think that because we are beautiful that we can't dive and we can't shoot a fish. But women, and we have legends on the East Coast as well.
100-year-old Eunice Haynes was the recipient of the Randolph Hall Spirit of Six Men's annual award, which was received by her grandson, Troy Husbands. Rachel Agard, CBC News.
Coming up on Newsnight, a young female entrepreneur building a successful business. A young Barbadian entrepreneur is in expansion mode with her thriving business. In fact, Terry Williams-Niles, the owner of Hairy-Fi Hair Store, has opened her second brick and mortar store. Akeem Klinkett was at the opening and he followed this report.
Hairy-Fi began with a thought and as a side hustle for owner Terry Williams-Niles. She originally came up with the idea while studying in Trinidad to be an accountant and doing hair for her friends under the business name Locks of Love. From that idea, it expanded into her taking a chance to import hair for her clients and then opening her first hair store in Government Hill. 4 years later, Williams-Niles says the thought process and the investment into these businesses are paying dividends.
It was very nerve-wracking, I could say so. At the time, it felt major. And now it's just like, oh, that's the other store. This store feels major for me now. So it was definitely a stepping stone. However, from there, it grew quickly and it became easy to handle. So that's where now we're taking this step. A lot of customers love the store where it is now. However, it's a little too small. So this store now, as big as it is, I'm hoping they will love this as well.
Williams-Niles is now 26 years old, but has been running her own business from the age of 22 with some help from her family. When asked how she handles the pressure of doing it all, her response is that this is her passion, and while it may be hard at times, she wouldn't have it any other way.
It's very challenging. It's just a matter of, you have to allow people to respect you, not just employees, but everybody within the business world. It's hard for them to look at you and just say, oh, this is a serious contender. However, once I keep to my beliefs, I find that they, eventually understand, this is somebody who's serious and somebody that needs to be respected.
She also encourages young entrepreneurs to love what they do first and do a ton of research to be ready for any curveball business may throw at them.
I would say just take these steps, but also do a lot of research. I think that the business is succeeding now because of the amount of research that I would have placed into it and also the love that I have for it. So it's not just, you just want to make some money, so you just do anything. You have to have a love for it, a genuine love, and also do your research. And even look outside as to what other businesses outside are doing. From there, you should be good.
And that for business isn't her only talent. Williams-Niles is also a former junior monarch and is currently a member of the Koiman All-Stars Calypso tent. Akeem Klinkett, CBC News.
Minister of Educational Transformation Chad Blackman has once again called on the youth to be active in service-oriented organizations. He was speaking at a charting induction and installation ceremony for the Lions Club International at the QEH Auditorium, where he said there is nothing greater than service to country and Barbadian youth need to be exposed to this.
Your role continues to be pivotal as the country moves forward in its development. And this evening, to my mind, serves as a very pivotal moment as you induct the Leos and the Cubs into what I believe is the future, not just of this organization, but our country going forward, trying to make sure that we can get our young minds into service-oriented activity. And why is it important? As the country continues to develop and build out its capacity going forward in areas of business and trade and education, infrastructure, whilst all these things are necessary, in my view, it has to be anchored by a citizenry who understands the role of service.
At the induction, 12 Cubs and 20 Lions were inducted and installed into the club. The main guard and clock tower at the garrison was abuzz with energy yesterday as participants assembled for the 3rd annual Tyrese Caesar Foundation 5K Walk and Run. The foundation's chairman and mother of the late Tyrese Caesar, Jacqueline Caesar, is pleased with the response to this year's event themed Path to Peace. More than 300 participants went into districts in Britons Hill and other areas, encouraging residents to change their mindsets about gun violence.
We're looking at love. We're asking people to forgive their wrongdoings. We're asking persons to adopt prayer, biblical principles. We're asking them to use conflict resolution skills and try to resolve issues as opposed to turning to violence. This is our 3rd year, but we will also be spreading the message in the district by handing out branded material against violence.
Tyrese was one of the 2 men killed in a shooting incident at Orange Cottage in St. Joseph on June 29, 2022, outside the Cottage Bar and Grill. 30-year-old Trey Harris of French Village, St. Peter, was also killed, while 19-year-old Seth Towler of Headings in St. Philip was injured and taken to the hospital. They were attending a birthday lime at the time of the shooting. Senior pastor of the Power in the Blood Assembly, Reverend Dr. Eric Peters, is applauding the annual initiative.
The family is very near and dear to us as a church family. We have grieved with them. I have had the opportunity to walk with them through this entire ordeal from the moment of the passing of Tyrese. I was able to provide support, spiritual support, but also be able to see them and see their strength and their selflessness, how they've been able to use the hand that they've been dealt, which was significant grief, and have been able to use this to spread the message. It is a really selfless approach, and I really applaud it, and as a church, they have our full support.
A dispute at the Rubis gas station in Four Roads, St. John, escalated into a stone-throwing incident that resulted in the business closing early today. CBC understands the altercation reportedly began with a dispute between an employee at the station and a customer. As it deteriorated into stones being thrown, one of the rocks hit and broke the building's glass door. The station was closed and the police called. Efforts by CBC to get a comment from the owner of the service station proved futile up to news time.
Well, they completed a 162-run victory over Wanderers on the final day of Series 5 of the BCA Elite Division. Playing at Dash Valley today, Wildy declared from their overnight 105-3, setting Wanderers a victory target of 244. In pursuit, the defending champions were bowled out for just 81, with 2 players unable to bat due to injury. Desmond Currency picked up 5 for 19. At Beccles Road, Gladiola narrowly defeated YMPC by 5 runs. Scores in that one, Gladiola 136 and 149, YMPC 124 and 156 all out. At Forest Square, ESA Field Pickwick brushed aside UWI by 82 runs. Scores Pickwick 156 and 164, UWI 103 and 135, Rondre Yearwood taking 7 for 34. Yorkshire came from behind to defeat BCA Youth by 6 wickets at Cane Garden. Scores there, Youth 205 and 204 for 6 declared. Yorkshire 157 and 253 for 6. Brathwaite scored 99 and Jaden Webster 65. That's a Thelbert Brathwaite, of course. The match at Bank Hall between Windward and Empire ended in a draw. Scores in that one, Windward 295 and 231 for 2. Empire 277. Well, Barbadian super heavyweight boxer Seth Lawrence finished second this evening at the 5th Regil Ventura Tonto International Boxing Cup in the Dominican Republic. Lawrence, here in the blue, is using the event to prepare for major competitions, including qualifiers for the 2026 CAC Games and Commonwealth Games. He started on Friday with a victory in his opening bout, reeling off a number of combinations, forcing the referee to intervene and shelter his opponent on 2 occasions with a standing 8 count. On Saturday, Lawrence returned to the ring, landing some heavy blows on his opponent, who then threw in the towel after 2 rounds. However, in the final this evening, Lawrence narrowly lost the matchup on points against his Dominican opponent in a fight that went the distance.
And that's our news for tonight. On behalf of the entire team, thank you so much for tuning in. Good night.